Trench Mob Testimonies, where we dive into how your test became your testimony. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Trench Mob Testimonies, where we dive into how your test became your testimony. I'm Jeremy Hawkins, and we have Tony Davis with us as well. Man, today we have Coach Aaron Day, D-line pass rush specialist, D-line trainer. Just a great coach when it comes to rushing the passer and getting to the quarterback, what we all are trying to do. You know, so we appreciate you coming on with it, brother. We appreciate you taking your time out of the day, probably getting away from some training and put some money in your pocket to get on with us, man. I appreciate you.
Hey, appreciate you guys for having me on, and I'm excited to be part of this. And congratulations to Coach Hawkins on this, and I'm looking forward to talking to you guys.
No doubt, man. No doubt. I appreciate that, man. I tell you what, I've been following your now X page, formerly known as Twitter page, and I'm sure a lot of college, NFL, high school, follow your social media platforms that you have out there, and you do a heck of a job with your platforms.
Appreciate it.
So what we know is DLineVids, right? Mm-hmm. So what I want to know tonight is, who is Aaron Day? Can you just expound on your background and who you are and what you've done as far as when it comes to football and pass rushing? And your brand is so large and so big, you do a heck of a job with that. And I think people want to know about who is the person behind the brand.
100%. Yeah. So it's all me. When you guys see posts, when you guys see any type of teach tape or just anything on those social media platforms, that's all me behind the scenes. I try to do my due diligence and make sure whatever content or whatever post that I'm putting out there, it reflects what's being said to other players or what coaches are saying to players out there, and trying to keep up and up to date with the verbiage, with the with the lingo, and making sure that the kids are able to understand what's being taught to them in a short burst. Right. I think that's what the beauty of social media is you're able to give information to people quickly and as long as you're efficient with your word count, quick, just as much as you can in a quick amount of time, without inundating them with too much or going over their head or being too smart. It's a beautiful thing. So for me, as far as coaching goes, it's very humble beginnings. I was playing junior college football at American River College here in Sacramento. I'm 5'10" at that time and 205 pounds, playing defensive end and long snapping. Once my eligibility was up, I knew I wasn't going to be moving on to play anywhere else. So I quickly figured out what my next move was and started jumping into high school coaching. And so from 2006 to 2019, I just coached high school football in the Sacramento area at various high schools around the area. And I enjoyed doing that a ton. I had some opportunities to do different things, but staying home, being around the wife and the two kids, it was just good for me to just be close by and enjoying the sights and sounds of Friday night lights, and being around young men who are trying to be better football players and all that sort. So when it came to DLineVids, when it came to starting this, it started very innocently. I was just looking for a place to store film. I used Twitter very sparingly back. It started in 2015. Used it very sparingly, and then I just was looking for clips and stuff online, and then I used it kind of like my Google Drive just to store it and put it somewhere, right? And then slowly but surely, coaches started reaching out. Coaches wanted to be, coaches wanted more, clips and more things from me. Players then wanted me to post some of their highlight films and, help me or help them get their film to other coaches. And it just started to blossom into something great. And over time, I started getting a lot more attention with the things I was posting, because I just took a lot of I took a lot of pride in what I was putting out there and making sure that it looked good, making sure that it was usable for anybody, whether you're new, someone who doesn't understand football, who's learning it for the first time, or someone who's been coaching it and teaching it for a very long time. I wanted it to be able to fit a lot of palettes with that. So, and then it just, like I said, it just continued to grow and grew, and it opened up a lot of doors for me. Social media has been very beautiful to me. It's allowed me to talk to you guys today, and it's allowed me to talk to a lot of great coaches and people that I respect in the D-line community and beyond.
No doubt, man. And like I said from the beginning, you've done a heck of a job at making sure you branding yourself the right way. And nothing like that, living in that California sunshine and breathing that
Oh yeah.
California air. So I know you didn't want to leave that area for
Oh,
sure.
it's great out here. I mean, especially in Sacramento, the weather's usually, unless there's a fire, everything else is pretty nice out here. So yeah, I definitely enjoy um, being out in the Sacramento area. And again, there's some pretty good players out here too. When they leave, they sometimes come back, and so if I can get my hands on them, I will. But we got a lot of talent out here in the 916. It's just getting the attention on those people and making sure that guys like Carl Granderson or Shaq Thompson or guys like that. They're elite and they can come from areas like Sacramento.
You kind of speaking, staying in that realm of things when you talk about players,
Hmm.
just from your standpoint, of how you train guys and when you train them and who you train.
Yeah.
Can you talk about your NFL guys that you're training and your college guys that you're training and if you train how many you train and how and some notable names if you train some guys that are bigger names, just kind of talk about those guys and let the people know who you've been around and who you put hands on and help in their career.
Sure. Yeah. So as far as me personally training guys, I'll just start with the first one. Whoever gave me a chance to work with them, that was Arden Key when he came out from LSU back in 2018 when he got drafted. He was up in Alameda. He was looking for some work, and that was my first, NFL or taste of NFL talent like him. And being able to work with him for 3 weeks before training camp was a huge blessing. And he's immensely talented. He's got all the tools right, and being able to put a name to the face, because that was another guy that I'd spent a lot of time watching his film, watching how he played during his time at LSU, and then to be able to see him in person and for him to say how much he watched the film and how much he appreciated the things that I did for him and all that, and then to be able to actually give him those tools in real time. It was a lot. It was so cool to be able to do that. As far as notable names, I guess the biggest name that I worked with was just a guy most recently, Javon Hargrave, who just got a big contract with the 49ers. He's another one of those guys, just so explosive. For a guy his size to be able to be so twitchy and understand his leverage and how to use his hands and just his football intellect, knowing what he's best at. It was cool just even for the day to be able to hear how he attacks, pass rush and his thoughts on how, to manipulate sets and things like that. The one that I've spent the most time with, especially recently, and someone who's had some success with the things that we've worked on, is DeMarcus Walker, who's currently now with the Chicago Bears. Um, DeMarcus will tell you himself, he was, late getting into training camp last year and didn't know if he was going to have a job after he had got let go by the Texans. And so we had linked up again just through Instagram, again, social media being a big driver in the way I interact with a lot of people. We had hooked up through Instagram and then got together out in the Bay Area. And first session on the beach, we're working in the sand and just in an uneven surface, trying to be more explosive, trying to work on change of direction, just trying to pick his brain and how he attacks things. And there were some things he did really well, and there were some things he needed work on. And we highlighted the strengths. We made sure he understood, or I made sure that he understood what he was best at in my eyes, and then also things that I believe he needed to work on. And he was a sponge. He didn't question it. He just took all the information, did his best with it, and over time, especially during the season, we talked back and forth on the phone or through text. He'd send me film and things that he was doing in practice, and he started to put it all together. And, slowly but surely, he was starting to have a really good season. He could have easily been a double-digit guy, but had a couple of sacks taken off through penalty. But he ended up having a productive year last year and turned that into a pretty sizable contract with the Chicago Bears. And then we linked up again this offseason, continued to work and do everything we could to be ready to go for this year. And now, instead of being a guy who was just barely getting into another NFL training camp, he's now a guy who's from my perspective, the defensive line's kind of built around currently, and he's supposed to be a productive man for the Bears and someone who can really make things happen up front. So I'm really blessed and grateful to be able to work with any NFL guys, but I've had a chance to work with, I'd say personally, around 12 to 15. Like, there's a couple guys who spent some time in the NFL, whether in training camp or private trainings, and then just ended up not being selected. But some guys who have stuck around, Javon Kinlaw, Chase Winovich, Carl Lawson. There's quite a few as far as NFL guys go. College guys, I've worked with enough college guys to not be able to keep track on most of them. But one in particular that I'm very proud of is Kean Sloan, another one of our local guys who he's going to be starting at Utah State this year as a JUCO All-American the year prior. Guy who, again, we worked through COVID. A guy who didn't have a lot of options coming out of high school and bet on himself and went the JUCO route. And we spent 2.5 years crafting his skill set around pass rush and finding things he did well. And now, like I said, putting it all together, JUCO All-America, and now he'll be starting for Utah State this year. So I'm very proud of guys like that too, even though they're not NFL guys. The college guys who no one really thought were going to do anything, who stayed the course with me and worked through all the trials and tribulations and all the bumps in the road and came out on the other side looking pretty. So yeah, I mean, and then being involved with the Von Miller Pass Rush Summit, being involved with different things like with Stanford or with Cal, just being able to work with some of their guys, it's been a lot of fun.
Man, that's awesome. And you kind of touched on a lot of things, man,
Yeah,
there, as far as how you was able to build your brand.
yes, sir.
And it's a lot of other coaches out there that, train guys and would love to, get an opportunity to, train some big name guys, work with NFL guys, work with college guys. Just talk a little bit about that, and how should someone out there who's looking to break into, the training industry, how do they build their brand up and have that opportunity to work with NFL guys and college guys like you've worked with?
So for me, what worked best for me, and I think what works best for most if they really apply themselves, is having some type of digital footprint on social media. Being someone who, again, I'm a high school coach, never coached or played at the FBS or FCS level or any division outside of JUCO, and I someone who just was looking for opportunities. I really put my foot on the gas pedal when it came to social media. I really worked hard on trying to put the best quality stuff out there and let people learn and appreciate the work. I'm not a opinion writer. I'm not someone who's gonna blow somebody up or talk bad about someone. So it all comes from a good place and a good heart. And so when I post something, it's not opinion based. It's not something where it's supposed to be super negative. It's a teaching tool. It's to help people learn and help them be better, whether it's being a better pass rusher or overall defensive lineman or a better coach. What is it that they can say to their players that will allow them to teach it to them better? To be more clear and concise with their teaching. And so social media was a big driver for me, and I tell people every time when it comes to trying to get into the into the realm of working with more high level guys or working with NFL talent. It can be just you sending a DM, betting on yourself and taking a shot, sending a DM to a player saying, hey, I'm in the area, I do this is what I offer. I would love to work with you if you have an opportunity or any time. And sometimes innocently, it's just as a response. And next thing you know, you guys are linking up and doing something. When it came to the summit, for instance, back in 2019, again, I'd been doing DLineVids for a while, and I'd had some success and had some good things going, but I really wanted to be into the Pastor Summit. I really wanted, I love Von Miller, I love what he had done, and I wanted to be involved. And so, it was me just sending a DM to Von Miller at the time, who had followed me, and he responded back and he said, "Yeah, I'm going to plug you in. Let's get going." And then next thing you know, I'm in Las Vegas a week later, and I'm involved with the summit. And I'm, having Aaron Donald, work with me, or having at that time Yannick Ngakwe or Frank Clark or some of those guys being able to pick their brain about things. And it's stuff like that where you don't know unless you message. You don't know unless you take a shot on yourself. You might feel nervous in the moment about reaching out to someone who's just so high level like a Von Miller, but if they respect you, if you feel like you have your the respect of the community, and you put in the homework and the time, those opportunities will come, and so being consistent with how you present yourself as a brand, or how put your name out there on the internet, that's a big one for me. So I don't put anything out there that I would be embarrassed by. I don't do anything that I think would reflect in a negative light. I keep it very vanilla, or very defensive line based, and I've had a lot of success for that. And so, like, for others who are looking to do that, just keep on posting, keep on putting up content, keep on doing things. Like, if you're finding your platform, your element, what you do best. Like, if you guys are great with podcasting, not my forte, not something I would say I would do very well, but it's something where if you find yourself loving it and you're able to do it day in and day out, and it's not something that grinds you down or you get bored of, all the best to you. And people will come. The people who respect you the most, especially, who will give you your time and give you their love, will be there. And those are the people in the interactions I care about most. It doesn't mean I need to work with everybody. I just want to know whoever works and takes their time to be with me values my time and understands that what I'm giving back to them is worth its weight in gold.
Absolutely, and the biggest thing is, like you said, consistency, man.
Yes.
You've garnered enough respect just by the work that you've put in, and
Yes.
again, it's about the work first. You've done a tremendous job, man. I can tell you this: my guys up here, man, they watch all of your videos.
I
They always
appreciate it.
come in. I mean, man, they talk about the videos and things that you're doing. So, very much respectable in a lot of communities, man. And definitely over here, and kind of just staying with that, man. So, do you ever go clinic with any other coaches or D-line coaches or trainers? And if so, how often is that a part of kind of like your regimen as far as, tooling yourself for success with these videos?
So early on, I did, especially when I was when high school coaches we're all looking for ways to get better during the off season. So I was a big Glacier Clinic guy. There were some other clinics in the area where I'm at that maybe weren't as better known, but I was always looking for opportunities to get better. I wanted to know what's being taught, what was the end vote thing. The coaching, evolves every year. Someone is teaching it a different way, and is it efficient? Is it something that I need to waste my time on, or not waste? I shouldn't say that. It's something I need to spend my time on, and make sure that if it's a priority, implementing it into my game, so that way I stay in touch with what's being taught. So if it wasn't Glacier Clinics, early on I was going to universities, so I would start off by going like to a Fresno State. At the time, Jamar Kane, who's now the pass rush specialist with the Broncos, he was at Fresno State. He had, at that time, he'd already won several FCS national championships with North Dakota State, and he had been building his name, and momentum was coming on his side, and he took the time out of his day to get me on the board, let me watch his film, talk about the things that he does, and I've implemented things that I learned from him into what I do today. He was a big person about, or a big proponent of violent shoulder turn. That wasn't something I was teaching at the time. I was a big hip flipper. And so when it came to stuff like that and how he explained it to me, it really turned on the light bulb in my head, and started to get me interested in teaching in a different way. And so like that trip for me, which was a whole day, that 3 or 4 minutes of him teaching violent shoulder turn, that was it. That was worth it. I didn't need to spend, all day with him, but if I can get something from somebody and use it and have it be valuable, that would have been it. So, Jamar King was a big one. Chuck Smith, who's now with the Ravens, but early on, he took me under his wing and was gracious enough to help me get plugged in with some other people in the D-line circles. Dyron Reynolds was another one who will let me, pick his brain about pass rush or just D-line play in general. He's when he was at Stanford, now he's at Michigan State. I just recently was at Cal with Coach Vic Soto, the outside linebackers coach for Cal Berkeley. So I'm always looking. I'm always looking for opportunities to get better. And that doesn't mean it has to be college coaches or guys who've been in the game a long time. I'm looking for people who understand their craft at the best of their ability. So I talk to movement coaches. I talk to people outside of the sport that I teach. Baseball guys, people who can tell you things that relate to the sport or to the thing that you're teaching. I use baseball terminology to teach pass rush. I talk about how to, pair your rushes up like a pitcher would pair his pitches up. And so, I try to find different ways to reach kids, especially the high school kids who are playing multiple sports throughout the year. They may not be the best football player initially, but if they played another sport longer than they did football, I try to reach into that sport and grab terminology or things or tools from that sport and use it to teach pass rush or to teach D-line play better. And sometimes for them, that's all they need. The light bulb clicks on. Next thing you know, they're doing it the way I want them to do it. And we're able to get past that hurdle that we had encountered, minutes ago. And so, whether it's clinics, whether it's, talking to guys like you who are, Division I coaches who have been doing this for a while, or, just anybody who understands what they do best. I want to learn. I never close myself off to anything. I want to at least hear them out and see what they have to say. And if they, I'm a vibe guy. If they give me the vibe, they know what they're talking about, I'll listen and then I'll do my own homework. And that's another big one. When people tell you something, it's great. Love it. Take it in, right? But do your own research. Make sure that what is being said to you is the gospel, or at least something that where if you repeat it, you're not embarrassed, or it's not something that you feel completely you're not bought in on it. Like, then don't teach it. Like do the stuff after you've been told something. Do the homework, and then next thing you know, it makes sense to you. You're able to teach it a certain way that it helps you to be a better coach for that reason, and now you have another tool in your toolbox to be a better coach.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. I'll tell you this right here. Everything that you just said, it kind of leads to the next question with, you knowing and having some connections with a bunch of guys that's literally just made their jump to the NFL. You mentioned Chuck Smith. I think you mentioned Jamar Kane. And those guys have been, pivotal for yourself. So
Yes.
with them making that jump to the NFL, do you have dreams and aspirations to make it to the NFL and be a coach at that level?
For me, I think the dream would to be able to get into training camp. I've applied through the Bill Walsh Minority Diversity Fellowship for the last 3 years. Again, I hope one day my name's picked and I'm able to go to training camp. But that's really where my motivation is. I'm Sacramento. I want to be home. I want to be around my kids. I want to watch my kids grow up. I want to get them ready for football or whatever sport they want to do, and see that through until they go to college. And then maybe after that, my motivations will change. But as it currently stands, for me, I would love to be able to continue to learn, and it's not me trying to be a big time NFL coach. Would that be great? 100%. Would love to be involved in some way, shape, or form like that. But I just want to continue to learn. I enjoy what I do. It's never it's never a stressful day for me when I'm out teaching pass rush or teaching football to somebody. It might be stressful on the drive or getting out of the house when my kids are doing this or that, or my wife's got to go here or there, and then getting in the car and driving to where I need to go. But once I'm there and I got everything set up and I'm ready to roll, it's lights on, it's lights, camera, action, and I'm totally in my element. But I can't be stagnant. I can't be, I can't stay the same. I need to evolve. I need to continue to learn. So one day, if I'm able to be, involved in the training camp or a mini camp with the NFL teams, I would love that opportunity. Outside of that, I mean, one day, down the road, would love to own my own facility. That's really my motivation. I want to be in a nice big facility and continue to do what I do close to home. Hopefully by the beach, or hopefully one day we move closer to the coastline. But that's where I'm at. I enjoy doing what I do and working with guys and not having to worry about since I'm with this program or with it, like Chuck Smith, he's now with the NFL team, so there's certain restrictions on his end. I want to continue to do what I do without any strings attached on that. So that's really where I'm at currently with that.
No, I understand that completely, man. And it's big for me too to raise my children, man, and be around my kids and my wife. And I'm a family man too. But the same token, I'm in college coaching, and it's different. But
Yeah,
I think sometimes what's for you at the moment is for you at the moment.
yes, sir.
If things do take off and I get to a higher level, then great. But if not, we're okay. We're satisfied with where we are. So I understand
Yeah,
when you say I want to raise you want to raise your children and be a dad and and live in that California air and right next to the beach or something, man. I get it. I understand
that's what I
completely.
want. I want to be next to the beach.
I understand completely.
I want to be next to
So
the beach.
that I wanted to ask you about your kind of your coaching philosophy. Kind of like when you train your guys, how do you approach not just them as a person, but how do you approach their skill sets? How do you help them enhance their tools in their toolbox?
Yeah, that's it. You said it. Enhance. Like I'm looking for when I get a new client, for instance. I have hopefully a general idea of how they move. So I'm a big movement guy, like a big proponent of understanding what they do best and just how they, how they get unwound and how they change directions and just stuff like that. Nothing to do with football IQ, pass rush moves, nothing like that. Just how do you move? What do you do already that I can make better, right? And so if I watch their film and get a chance to see it before we get together, I'm just looking for a change of direction. I'm looking for how they bend. I'm looking for ankle flexion. I'm looking for, I can understand if a head's cocked a certain way and it tells me about their eye progression. What are they seeing in that moment when I watch their film? And then when I get them in person, it's about that movement. I want to get them on the hurdles. I want to get them on the hoops. I want to see how they turn their shoulders or dip and reduce hitting surface. I'm trying to understand them movement wise, and then I'm trying to understand how their brain works. I'm big on the first session being one on one. I want to know them. I want to spend time with them. So that way, when I do get them in small groups or I get them into bigger groups, I have a general understanding of what makes them tick. And so that way I can reach them in a quick burst, right? Like if I don't know them or take the time to learn them personally, then I'm just saying words to them and they're continuing to do the things that they're comfortable with and not allowing themselves to be uncomfortable for that moment and work through it, right? So if I don't give them that opportunity for that one-on-one, you're gonna take longer to reach them. So that first session, one-on-one, we're learning about each other. They're learning my flow and how I teach, and that's big. And then after that, I'm looking for things they do great, enhancing those. But then I'm adding some tools to their toolbox, and it doesn't always have to be they have to have this swipe or this club swim or this cross chop. Do they understand violent shoulder turn? I'm telling them you have fail safes, you have opportunities to still win, even if the move doesn't initially land. So yeah, okay, you didn't hit your swipe, you didn't attack those hands, but can you get these shoulders to turn, right? Can you dip and get underneath punches? Can you turn that inside toe What do your eyes look like? What are you staring at when you're closing on a blocker? Are you trying to work finesse when you have the idea to work power? And so then that's why you're falling into that blocker's hands. I'm trying to figure out all those things so that way when they do find the one or two tools that they feel most confident in, that's it. And then, you go out and you play your game and you don't overthink. If you're able to be explosive and cut down on the thinking, you're going to be able to play fast. And then the sacks and the stats and all the accolades will come. But if you're constantly trying to throw 10 different moves for 10 different scenarios, I mean, you're never going to master anything. So, like, what do you do best? Let's enhance those qualities about you. Can I give you a couple tools that you feel confident in taking the game? Because that's a big one, confidence. A lot of guys can do a lot of things, but can they do it confidently? Can they take what they've learned in practice or in what they've won in one-on-ones during practice and then take it out there in live bullets and actually do it? Some can't. Some don't have the confidence to do those things. So continuing to to make them comfortable and make them understand if the things that you're doing in practice are working against the guys who are actually playing the game, most likely those things are going to work against the opponent that you're playing that week. So like continue to work on it and continue to build on your skill set and have that confidence to where you go out in the game and I'm able to do it, and I don't hesitate or think twice about it. And so sometimes it's just the verbal stuff, getting them on the phone, talking to them about it, or in person or on the phone, and reminding them how great they are. But there's a lot of things that I would love to teach a guy, but at the end of the day, it is the get off. 100%, no matter what, you got to be able to get off the rock. If your get off is late, if you are not explosive out of your stance, a lot of things that we work on are not going to work. And that's in run or pass, right? Like if you're late and you get off on your run, you're a catcher's mitt. Those guys are getting surging and washing you down to the linebacker. You're in their way. Now we have big holes and you're getting gashed. In pass rush, if you're late off the rock, you've wasted almost a half second, maybe even a full second for some. And so now you can't work finesse, you can't work speed. You got to hope that the quarterback's holding the ball and it's a coverage sack, or you got to work straight to power because you got to make up for that lost time and make a beeline, straight to the quarterback. So it's got to be about the get off, no matter what. And so don't feel like you have to do all this other stuff until their get off is clean. So I'll spend time working on get off, getting them on hurdles, giving them different stimuluses to respond to. When I get people paired together, having competition periods, having them work against somebody else who might be, D tackle going against a defensive end. I don't care. Compete. What are you going to do to make yourself better in that moment? How do you create success for yourself when the chips are stacked against you? So I try to find those ways to reach those players and like I said, enhancing skill sets and adding some tools to their toolbox while doing it.
Absolutely, and very detailed, very much so detailed. A lot of detail goes into that. A lot of time, energy, effort goes into that.
Yeah.
Now, and just kind of staying there. So you have so many clients, you work with so many guys. The film, right? The film itself. How many hours are you spending studying these guys' film? And just talk a little bit about that. Just the time that you take out to actually dive into the film room and figure out these very small, minute details about each guy's that you coach. How many hours of film does that require a day for you?
A day. Well, I mean, DLineVids is DLineVids for that reason, right? I mean, I'm breaking down film as much as I can, but I wouldn't say it was hours. I would say, if I am able to look at 30 minutes of film per day, I know I'm going to get better. I'm going to stay current. I'm going to stay locked into what's being taught, and I'm going to be able to, not lose anything. Football IQ is going to be pretty solid. If I can increase that, then I'm happy. Like if I can get an hour or two a day, and whether it's a writer talking about this or a coach talking about that, or what's out there, what am I missing? If I spend an extra 30 minutes or an hour on that, I could probably find something that is being said that will allow me to teach it better. And then when it comes to working with clients, I want to see that film. I want to see what they're doing even after we've worked together. I want to continue to see it, because I want to either know that what we're doing is working, or if there's still issues, how can we fix them? How can we work past those what I say is inefficiencies in movement, right? Like, what is it that we're still having problems with that we can kind of tackle and clean up, so you can't do that at a high level without studying the person, studying the not just the player and what they do, but the moment that they're in, right? Like, do they have a certain surface, or is there a tight end, or is there uh, uh, and then a slot receiver cracking them, and that's why they're having issues. Do they understand if the player they're going against this week is hurt or not hurt? What are the elements that they're dealing with as far as weather? Like, taking all that into factor before even pigeonhole them that you can only do this or do that, and here's your problem, right? Like, understanding the other context, and so that takes time, and so, like, if you watch film and you're playing a snow game, you've got to know that some of these players are not going to have that explosiveness for that game, right? Or if they're playing a backup tackle one game and then the next week they're playing an All-American, you got to understand that person who they're going against and know that, okay, like, they were teeing off on that backup, but this week it's a little different, right? And so, watching that film, okay, we can understand that, okay, they did some things somewhat well, but maybe hats off to that guy this week. They had they had their way with them a little bit, right? And not being so beating them up and being so negative about things that happen week to week or rep to rep, and so there needs to be context to that film. There needs to be an opportunity to not be so negative with these guys. But I'm just trying to get as much of it as I can. And some days are shorter than others. Like, today I had more opportunities to watch film or to, look at the guys that I'm working with. Some days I maybe spend 15 or 20 minutes doing that. It's just, it's important to me for at least to do it. But, if you find your flow and you make time for it and you understand what you're looking for, you're going to be good. One quick thing that helped me when I was first learning was the scouting academy. I ended up involving myself in the scouting academy several years back, and because I had aspirations to be a scout, and so I wanted to learn how to to do that better. And that alone made me a better coach because I understand now if this certain player was hurt or if this certain player, had an off year, there was so much that played into that player's development prior to the injuries, or, like, the year went a certain way because of these certain things that had happened. You don't get that when you're just sitting down and watching film. You get that by diving into the players' injury reports, the players, coaching. Who has he been involved with? What are things that he had that were great, and then what are things that he had to continue to work on. And with scouting, you get this really detailed, really, just meaty scouting report and then helps you learn so much about the game, about play strength, about foot drive, about all the things that we look for pass rushers or good D linemen to do. You become a better coach for it, and then you can kind of see what the things that you were missing, the things that maybe didn't come to you in the moment that the scouting report will kind of explain away.
I'll tell
That
you
was a
what.
lot, I know.
No, 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 no. I tell you what. I was just sitting here thinking, like, as you're talking, I can tell why. You get the clientele that you get, and all the great details that you're talking about, man. It's
Yeah,
wonderful because it's needed in the pass rush and D
yeah,
line and trench mob community. Um, so
I
I
appreciate
appreciate that. But want to get to the segment of the show
it. Mhm.
where I kind of dive into how your test became your testimony. And so what was your greatest test in life that allows you to tell your testimony?
My greatest test, it started with me being, I guess, doubted. I'm not a college graduate. I don't have a degree. I'm 5'10". Uh, right now 260, but at the time I was a young coach. I wasn't somebody that you looked at and you thought I was going to know what the hell I was doing, right? And it required a lot of convincing for some people to allow me to be who I am today. I had to continue to stay consistent with what I knew I can do best. High energy, willing to learn, being at the right place at the right time. Not closing myself out of things because they make me nervous, or they make me question myself. Being open to other things outside of even just football. I mean, just being open to anything that's coming my way that I think might make me better. And so, early on, a lot of guys would look at me and think, what do you know? What do you know? I mean, you're just a high school coach. What do you know? Well, let me prove it to you. You spend time with me, and we'll figure it out. I guarantee you'll walk away with something. And so, even if it was just, early on doing it for free, working with high school kids around the area, working with college kids around the area, whether it was Sac State, UC Davis, JUCO, whatever, teaching them and letting them understand, or, convincing them that what I was doing was going to help them. Um, and then them having success with the things that we worked on, and then coming back and having them tell me, hey, you're right. I love that. I love the validation. Or a coach being able to tell me that they're so technical. I mean, some of these kids I work with, like they might not be, D1 frames, or they might not be, the sharpest tool in the shed, but when we work hard enough, we really, highlight the best qualities of ourselves. And so the one thing that I enjoy the most when I hear a coach um, tell me about a player that I had worked with is, Coach, they're so technical. Like they may not be the most explosive or the strong, but man, they understand what they do best, and they really are technical. I love that. I eat that up. And so I want that every time I work with my guys, but it takes time. It takes convincing. It takes, time to get the player on your side sometimes. Yeah, they want to work with you, but there's still doubts. There's still people who they need to be there to hear you in order for them to know that you're giving them the tools. And so even when they spend money or spend time with you, they're still, you can feel it. You can sense the emotion, or the energy that there's still doubt, And so my tests and my issues that I've dealt with in the past were always about convincing people that what I am doing is going to work. And if they buy in, if they stay consistent, that there will be a payoff. There will be something that they do on the field that they're happy about. And it started with the things that we had worked on.
Wow, that's profound, brother. That's truly a test that you have. I mean, if you haven't passed it with flying colors, I don't know what you've done. I
Yeah.
mean, you truly got a testimony, man, to come from, being a high school coach. And I understand that. I was a high school coach for 3 years in Georgia, and it's a deal where some people just don't believe or trust that you can even have that mindset that you can be what you want to be, and you're smart enough and you understand the game enough.
Yeah.
Just because you're not coaching at that high level doesn't mean you're not intelligent. Doesn't mean you're not well spoken. It doesn't mean that you can't learn it. You can go and seek that knowledge, and you did that, and you done it in a very tasteful way. And man, I salute you in all your in all your endeavors and everything that you have done. I'm appreciative of it because I watch your film all the time on Twitter. Well, X, formerly
X.
known as
Yeah.
Twitter. So,
Yeah. Still call it
man, I'm
Twitter.
appreciative. I'm appreciative of you and your time that you took out with us today.
Yes,
Man, you,
sir.
you truly got a test, man, and you truly got a testimony. I appreciate you, brother.
I appreciate you, Coach Davis, Coach Hawkins. Thank you so much, I again, congratulations on the podcast, and
Thank you, bro.
hope for big things for you guys.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you for your time. It was a blessing, man. Blessing to talk to you, man. And I feel inspired, man. And because
Yeah.
just like you said, I was also one of the guys who've been doubted before. And now I'm sure Coach Hawkins at one point been doubted before too. And we just stuck at it. We kept believing, and we kept chopping that wood, man, and
Yes,
seeking the
sir.
knowledge and continue to make each other better. So I appreciate you. You definitely made us better tonight. I
Thank you
appreciate you,
so
Coach.
much. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it.
No doubt, man. And that's Trench Mob Testimonies, and we're out.